My dear children, and if you haven't noticed, today is a PD day. Our children are joining us for Jumu'ah Salat. And I am dedicating my khutbah to them, however older people may listen to. And I'm going to talk about something that came about as a result of a brief conversation that I had with a young Muslim in his 20s, and the conversation that I had may reflect the mindset of many young people. And I can see that, as all of us can see that, there is a sense of desperation. There is a sense that nothing is working, that the world around us is losing control. And nothing can be more difficult than for us to feel that we're losing control. And I assure that young person that from an Islamic perspective, our Creator assured us that things will always be under control, even if He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has to come and resume that control to give it back to us to do what we are supposed to do as human beings. And we know that everything is under the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time, even if we don't see it, but it is. Therefore, I'm going to bring a message of hope to the young people, to tell them that things are not so bad after all. That we will be able to resume that control and bring things to where they're supposed to be, even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us some assistance. And I'd like to talk about something that happened before all of the young people were born. But it is something that we are seeing today, and they know about it after the fact. They might not have known where things started. I want to talk about South Korea. You probably, in your schools, know that the top students in math are Korean students. You probably know that the top students for 20 years in a row in something called International Assessment of Educational Progress. For 20 years, the top students of International Assessment of Education Progress in mathematics and science are from Korea. And I want to tell you that there was a devastating war in Korea between 1950 and 1953. See, I told you, it's before all of you were born. 3 years. That resulted in dividing Korea into North Korea and South Korea. South Korea came out of the war in shambles. Nothing was working. Destruction everywhere. People were asking for help from other countries to buy food, to be able to live. And in a few decades, South Korea is where it is today. Today, South Korea is number 7 in the world in exporting goods and services. Number 7 in the world. It is number 15 in per capita income. It is number 12 in profitability from selling things. It is one of the best countries in its economy, internationally speaking. So what happened between 1953 and now? What happened is the following, and everybody agreed to that, and this is where I want all the young people to listen very carefully, because I want to talk to you. Listen what happened. What happened is that South Koreans believed firmly in what their religious leader, Confucius, taught them. And that is, life is not worth living unless it has two things attached to it: morality and knowledge. And you may say, but we heard that this is what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught us. You're right. You are right. You are right when you know that the first word that God revealed to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, peace be upon him, is read. Start to get knowledge. And we know, as you know, that in the Quran there are so many verses, ayat. And by the way, you may hear me mention English words to things that you know in Arabic, and it's because of a beautiful surprise, because after Salat today, we have a young sister who will embrace Islam, inshallah. And that's why for her, I am mentioning things in Arabic and in English. So there are many verses in the Quran that talk about getting knowledge, absorbing knowledge, working on this knowledge, translating it into morality and into action in order to live our lives as Muslims. Now, South Koreans who followed what Confucius taught them, they started to take that very seriously. And schooling became their number one priority. It is normal for South Korean students in the elementary level, which is from grade 1 to grade 8, to study every day. Listen, children, listen. To study every day till 11 o'clock at night. 95% of students in South Korea finish high school. 95%. 86% of them finish university. And they go and work and they compete. To them, to get a B is not something they would consider. They all compete to get the highest of marks. And it's showing that there are results. And the reason I wanted to talk about South Korea is that the conversation I had with that young Muslim that I started to tell you about was about a statistic I shared with him, and he felt that it is the gateway to get that which is on his chest. He wanted to say what he had to say. I told him, and I don't know if I mentioned this from this minbar before, but statistics show that #1 nation in the world in the reading books that is Germany. And the average time that they read books is 2 months per year. So every year they spend 2 months reading. And #2 is Japan. And #3 is Britain. Now, we can go through the list, but what I really shared with this young person, and apparently what I told him, added devastation to his state of devastation. I told him, and this is what the statistics show, Arabs, and we know that the majority of Arabs are Muslim. Arabs who were told through the final messenger to humanity, Muhammad ﷺ, to read, Iqra, read. Statistics show, the same statistics, that Arabs read 7 minutes per year. 7 minutes per year. And I hesitate to listen or to read the statistics that show how much they play electronic games per year. Now, if they read 7 minutes per year, it means that the Quran is not at the top of their reading list. When they are supposed to read it and study it and answer it, and they try to find the questions and answers in the Quran. Now he told me, no wonder, if we look at what's happening on the other side of the Atlantic, we find that everything is in shambles. Because people do not read. Now I told them that there are isolated examples that can really show that we have the ability, but we are not capitalizing on this ability. Lately, we heard of a young Lebanese young person who excelled in math to the point that you can give him any 2 numbers. It doesn't matter how many digits to multiply, and he will just basically give you the answer just like that. We heard that while the siege was around Gaza lately, there was a young graduate of high school who was the top student ever. And she had competed in international competitions and she came at the top. We have the ability. But having the ability does not solve the problem. And that's why I'm talking to the young people today. Because I know among you, you have great abilities, but we really need to translate the ability into action so that people can see. Now I want now to go to the Quran very quickly. Time does not allow us to get things in detail. But the Quran, the first year of starting the revelation to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a surah that we all love to, shall I say read? Yes, I will say read, even though I said we read very little. We love to read it. It's Surah Al-Qiyamah. Very early, it was the first year of revelation. And we know that better than give a good answer to a question is to know how to ask a good question. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning, instead of giving us good answers to what we are asking, He started in Surah Al-Qiyamah to ask those good questions, to teach us how to ask. Because we know that the best scientists are those who know how to ask a good question so that they can find a good answer. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of Surah Al-Qiyamah that we love to read asked a few, 3 actually, very good questions. And He started that by saying, أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَن يُتْرَكَ سُدًى. Did humans think that they are going to be left just to be useless? The word Suda, according to the Arabic tongue at the time of revelation, was used in association with she-camels that have given so many births and they have given so much milk, and now they are so old that they cannot be used anymore for anything. So they are let go on their own to graze until they die. So they are called Ibilun Suda, meaning that this she-camel is useless now. So they let her graze. So أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَن يُتْرَكَ سُدًى. Did you think that, and this is early in the revelation, early, very early. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now is revealing the Quran slowly. So he's asking people, did you think that you are creations that will just eat and sleep and waste? And no. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give them the answer. أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَنْ يُتْرَكَ سُدًى? You know when he gave them the answer? After 10 years. After 10 years, a surah was revealed. Embedded in it is lots of knowledge. And we are talking about knowledge, about ilm. Lots of it. And that surah that was revealed in the 10th year of revelation, immediately after Surah Al-Isra. Surah Al-Isra that came immediately after Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, went to heaven, and we know the story of that. That surah was Surah Al-Dhariyat. Surah Al-Dhariyat. And in Surah Al-Dhariyat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the answer to أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَنْ يُتْرَكَ سُدًى. Did you think you are just useless? Just like this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the answer. What was the answer? Before he gave the answer, he said something as if to tell them, by now, after 10 years of revelation, you are supposed to know what the answer is. Before I tell you what the answer is, he told them, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. O Muhammad, remind them, the past 10 years, how they were able to understand the purpose of their existence without telling them yet, because immediately after, remind them, because a reminder will benefit the believers, not anybody else. The believers, immediately he said, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. This is the answer to the good question. Did they think that they are created for what purpose? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that after that, remind them, because now I'll tell you what the answer is. After 10 years, the purpose of your creation is to establish ibadah. But you have exercised ibadah. How did you exercise it? How did you, Abu Bakr, Umar, Abdul Rahman, Ali, how did you live your lives in the last 10 years? They knew, indeed, based on what we have learned, we were worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on this knowledge. Based on this knowledge. Now, I go back so that the young people would say, you lost us, I'm sorry. And I know I might have lost those young ones, but I'm coming back to you right now. So listen to me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Dhariyat started by what classically has been explained by the Mufassirin as things they could see, certain phenomena. وَالذَّارِيَاتِ ذَرْوًا فَالْحَامِلَاتِ وِقْرًا فَالْجَارِيَاتِ يُسْرًا فَالْمُقَسِّمَاتِ أَمْرًا. So they said الذَّارِيَات are the winds, and the حَامِلَات are the clouds. The جَارِيَات are the ships, vessels in the sea. Muqassimat are the angels because this is their experience. However, the Quran opens its horizons for interpretations, for understanding. Because these dhariyat, I loved lately a person who understood it. He said, ad-dhariyat are nuclei of ideas. Young people may have an idea that they want to explore. These are ad-dhariyat. And al-hamilat, this is how they talk about them. Al-jariyat, this is how they experiment with them to find out something. Al-muqassimat, this is how they translate their results into things that people can benefit from. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us stories about Prophet Ibrahim, then Musa, then Ad, then Thamud, then Noah. And he did not tell us those stories just like this to entertain us. He told us something about Prophet Ibrahim, even though Prophet Noah in time came before him. But he told us first about Prophet Ibrahim. He told us how the angels came to him. He did not have children for 83 years. And now the angels came and they gave him glad tidings. Finally, he is going to have a child. But you know the description that they gave him of that child? They said, وَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ عَلِيمٍ, knowledgeable child. Why alim? You know, a child will be born and then will start to learn. How could a child be knowledgeable before he will start to learn? Because the idea is, after they gave him that glad tidings, his wife came as if to say to the angel, what are you talking about? She came to him and she had a cringe on her face and she said to them, I am a barren, sterile, old woman. How do you expect a knowledgeable child to be born of me? And they gave her the answer, قالوا كذلك إن ربك هو الحكيم العليم. Again, they gave her a description of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on wisdom and infinite knowledge. The same thing, alim, as Ghulam Alim, meaning when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something, it will happen. And this is where I take you back. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees that we are losing control, He comes and gives us that control again. So believe me, if you see that the Muslim world now is in shambles, if the Muslim world is in a state of sterility, if the Muslim world, you may say, has absolutely nothing to offer, I will say, based on what the Quran is telling us, a new generation, because Ghulam Alim represents a new generation. A new generation will come out of this barren state, of this sterility, that will bring lots of knowledge, that will emulate the Korean example, not because they are the standard, but because we have the standard. We do not need to lean on anyone else, but at least we say, look, they tried respectfully, and they followed the teachings of their leader, their religious leader, Confucius, while we still are not following. Actually, the problem we have is that we are not following the Quran and the Sunnah. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala joins Kitab and Hikmah in 7 places. Kitab is the Quran. Hikmah is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But we haven't been doing that. So my message to you, and I will sit before the second khutbah. Young people, listen to me. My message to you, I want you to be known for your excellence in school. Let everybody know the Muslims not as those. Remember a couple of years ago I talked about, how many schools are suffering because certain groups from our community are misrepresenting our akhlaq. And they are bullying others. They are representing us in a way that we don't like to be represented with. I want you to reverse that tide, because you are smart, I know. You have the ability. I want you not to spend your time playing PS4 and Xbox and all of those things that will not benefit anyone, but instead will make your mind lazy, because you are following what those screens bring to your eyes, and you just respond instead of you making the move. And how do you make the move? By studying, by reading, by exploring, by being the top in math and science and history. Go and read. Don't let that statistic stand. 7 minutes per year. How could we accept that? At least here, God is saying, look, I'm giving you peace for you to sit at home in a comfortably, in a climate that is air conditioned to make you comfortable so that you can study, you can excel. And you know what? Excellence in secular knowledge, in that knowledge of math and things, if not coupled with deen and akhlaq and hikmah and wisdom, will be knowledge that may hurt others. So this is my message to you today on this PD day. Study, read. Don't say it's boring. If you want, inshallah, and I'm challenging older people. I had one young man who came to me and he said, I want to do something for my community. And I gave him some ideas, but I would like to give some young person at university, or a few of you, why don't you establish tutoring at the Islamic Center for students to come and study every day and learn from each other and excel and be the kind of people we will be proud of, as we are already proud of you because you are ours. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فيا فوز المستغفرين. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will accept our dua. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Once again, my dear children, brothers, sisters, now I will address the brothers and the sisters, the parents, the older brothers, the older sisters. You know, if we are struggling through our generational time, if we are looking right and left and we are bewildered, we are finding it difficult to deal with this and that and this and that, we have a resource that, if developed properly, is guaranteed, with Allah's permission, to make a difference. So why don't we work on it? Why don't we start to do something for those children? And I know there are programs at the center. I know there are programs at the London Muslim Mosque. I know there are programs with MAC. I know London community is one of the most active communities anywhere in Canada. I know that. But there's still that one image that we need to correct. And please, I want you, I feel inappropriate, but I have to mention it. Inappropriate to mention this from the minbar. I was very embarrassed when I got the news of staff working with the Salvation Army starting to distribute food baskets and toys in the Christmas season. That staff said to me that most of the people who showed up the first day we started the program had the scarf on, were Muslims. Why? We don't celebrate Christmas. And on Eid Day, during Ramadan, we have programs that we benefit from. Why do we want to tarnish this image? Because people know we are already trying to improve our image. I tell you, please, if you know somebody who is going and tell them, no, this is not for us. Instead, I ask you, as a result of hearing this, I invite you to please contact the Salvation Army. Tell them, can I contribute towards a few food baskets that we can share with our Christian neighbors? We need to show a kind of morality that others will say, these are our Muslim neighbors. We want our children again to be at the top of the list in academic performance, in akhlaq, in morality, because this is something that will cost us nothing other than goodwill, determination, and this is what our deen is all about. Our deen is not only about salat and zakat and siyam. And I mentioned this to Jessie, who is going to accept Islam after salat, that she is not entering into the fold of Islam because of salat and fasting and charity and pilgrimage. She is entering the fold of Islam because she experienced those before her who entered Islam with their morality, their action, their interaction. This is Islam. This is what Islam is all about. We should give more emphasis to behavior and the right emphasis. I won't say less emphasis. No, the right emphasis on the rituals. By the way, rituals are not going to get us into Jannah. And you know the hadith of أَتَدْرُونَ مَنِ الْمُفْلِسِ. I'm not going to mention it, it will take time. You know who's the bankrupt. I mentioned it before. People who will go on the day of judgment with lots of prayers, lots of zakat, lots of fasting, but their behavior is zero or minus. This is not Islam. Let us think about it. Let us start to hear that there are tutoring sessions, that there are excellence, that there are moralities that are developed right here in our community. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم في العالمين انك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وخطايانا واسرافنا في امرنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا. اللهم ارنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم علمنا من ديننا ما جهلنا وذكرنا منه ما نسينا وكن معنا ولا تكن علينا. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.